Morning yogis in the room. Let's start by standing up, because why not? If we face the short end of the mat, so if you guys face that direction, and have your feet close or together and hands in prayer, and breathing through your nose if you can. And sometimes it's nice to move the feet. It's certainly nice to relax in whatever way works for you here and now. So we're sort of tuning out by moving the body out of habits, patterns, expectations, anticipations. And by tuning out, we tune in to this living moment that's beyond thought. So in the Sanskrit tradition, we sometimes use this phrase, unmani, beyond thinking. And then raise your arms up. Morning, Tanya. Raise your arms up with tone in your tummy, light tone in your tummy. Roots of the neck soft, pelvic floor buoyant. So pelvic floor buoyant is, interesting to investigate what that means here and now for you. And of course, it's not a, yoga is not something a person does. Just briefly before the class began, Ali and I discussed that there's no such thing as people. People. Yeah, no such thing as people, despite the fact that we're all here. Which we can explore in more detail soon. Inhale, exhale, sweep down and touch the floor, which probably means bending the knees for most sane people at this time of day. But some people have got short legs and long arms, so you don't necessarily have to bend the knees. But the hamstrings are stretching, certainly. The back muscles are stretching, certainly. So find ways to loosen the body and the breath, because one thing isn't loosening if both things aren't loosening, the body, brain, and the breath. So moving in ways that release your body here and now and your breath here and now to validate the loosening is real. You have to feel it everywhere. Take the foot that's furthest away from me and step it back towards the back of your mat. Lower the knee gently towards the floor behind the pelvis. And bring yourself up onto your fingertips and perhaps even onto your leg. Lightly tone your tummy in reiterative waves so it sort of draws in and up. If you want to follow that through with the arms, you can. That's optional. Of course, yoga is an absorption into the mother field. That's one way of putting it. So the mother field is the field that underpins all realities. All realities are an expression of it here and now. So absorption into the mother field is an investigation primarily. Coming down, lifting the back knee, stepping the front foot back in downward facing dog position. Taking deep, natural, expressive breaths, finding your own way to wake the body up, to sort of enter into the moment. And so it takes time, doesn't it, to sort of uncurl, to open up like a flower. It takes a bit of time, and it takes two other things. It takes warmth and light. What are those? Kindness and awareness. Warmth and light. So flood the body with warmth and light, not just light, but warmth and light. Good. Bring your shoulders forwards above your wrists and take a breath or two like that. The notorious, much loved by very, very few people, Chaturanga Dandasana, moved into Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, which is preferred, relatively speaking. Keeping the tummy tone, the toes can be tucked under or pointing back as you like. Back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog. Taking deep breaths. You can get your feet back towards your hands any way you like. That includes stepping, walking, staggering, hitchhiking, whatever you can do. Hands back on the floor. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft. Lead with the chest and inhale to come up. Raise the arms. Hands to the heart center. Take deep breaths, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8. Perhaps you'll feel your way into your body. Raise the arms up again. On the inhalation. On the exhalation, fold over the top of the front thighs, hinge from the hip joints, and probably bend the knees. No? But not, it's not incumbent on you to bend the knees. If you're happy with straight legs and you can ease your back into it. But of course, honesty is quite a difficult thing to practice because we like the story of, or don't even like the story, but we're habituated to the story of ourselves that other people have given us, that we've picked up, that we've created. And we like the story of other people too. It seems more easy if people are just contained within a story rather than being the unwieldy realities that they actually are, changing all the time and all that annoying malarkey. Let's step the other foot back to the one we stepped back before and lower the knee towards the floor behind the pelvis, coming up to fingertips if you want, coming up to your leg if you want, raising your arms up if you want. Anjaneyasana. Anjaneya is one of the names of Hanuman, long since one of my favorite South Asian deities. I think he's rather popular anyway with most people, partly because he's a monkey. I think that helps. So lightly toning the tummy, finding the pelvic floor, and looking for flow. Hands back down to the floor when you're ready. Lift the back knee, step back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Really enjoy disappearing. So just like salt will disappear into the ocean, if you walk into the ocean with a handful of salt, you don't have to do anything, but when you come out of the ocean, it's gone. But it's not destroyed, it's disappeared back into the ocean. Similarly, disappear. So the ocean is this moment. This is the advice of Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. When he tells us how we should approach yoga, he says, disappear into the infinite. It's unequivocal. Okay, bring your shoulders forwards above your wrists. The delightful, the joyful Kumbhakasana, followed by the veritably ecstatic Chaturanga Dandasana, and into Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Light tone in the tum, investigative awareness, breathing easy. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good. Deep breaths, open up the armpits, disappear to reappear, Tathagata. That's one of the epithets of the Lord Buddha, is the Tathagata. Interestingly, one he gave to himself. When people said, who are you? He didn't say, oh, I'm Siddhartha. He said, I'm the Tathagata, right? Which means, oh, I've gone, right? Tata plus gata means thus gone. Very cool. Step, jump, walk, stagger, roller skate, whatever you can do, but get your feet back to your hands in a way that's intelligent and reasonable. Breathe through your nose. Don't forget those knees should be bent. If there's any dullness, aching, or pain in the back that you can't see that is beginning to release with straight legs, then it definitely should be bent. We don't want, it's not wise to have dullness, aching, or pain in the back. Breathe easy. Fingertips ascend, raise up your arms. Light tone in the tummy, investigate the sensations of buoyancy in the pelvic floor. Bring the hands to the heart center. Breathe through your nose. So we serve flow. We serve flow. Like that's what we want to serve. Because flow gives us freedom. When we're serving flow, we're not getting caught up in identities. Good people, bad people, nice people, or not nice people, happy people, sad people. We're not getting caught up in identities, gender or age or any other. Raise your arms again. Light tone in the tum. Inhale, exhale. Probably bend ankles, knees, and hips to reach the floor, or it may be possible if the back's off. Of course, there's a huge range of different range of flexibilities that we'll encounter through our lives. And so if you've got a large range and it's easy to move, then you could try things like raising the heels and moving your hamstrings to release your back more holistically. Now remember, these poses are not magic. They're only magic if you use them to absorb back into holism. But again, most people are much better off with bent knees. Stepping back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog position. Breathe through your nose. So a little different to the first set, a little shorter. Shoulders forwards above the wrists. Breathe through your nose. A happy moment will follow this one as we lower our knees to touch the floor very, very, very lightly in a way that is quite frankly frustrating. Breathe into it. Don't land much weight at all. You're just grazing the floor with your knees. Raise one knee, which continues our lamentable frustration. Bring that one down and raise the other. Remember, there's no actual weight going through your knees. Raise both. Breathe through your nose. Back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. When you're ready, the downward facing dog pose. Walk your feet a little closer towards each other. Let the breath flow. Let the breath flow. Feel your way into it like a meditation, like falling in love, actually. Raise the leg that's furthest from Jim Taran, which is a made-up fictional character. Bend and extend the knee and experiment with turning in or out or lifting the heel of the standing leg. Various modalities of play that work out for you in terms of absorption. When ready, level up, bend the knee, swing the hand into the place of the foot into the place of the hand. And we're back in a version of Anjaneyasana. Lower the knee, focus on a stretch from the inner groin upwards that you might augment if you want by climbing up onto your leg, but keep your mind focused on that stretch in the groin. Maybe raising your arms if you want. Light tone in the tongue, breathing through your nose. Investigative awareness, meditative awareness, looking to disappear, like the Lord Buddha. Coming down again, lift your back knee, step back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Draw some deep breaths. Sometimes they draw themselves in. It's a lovely feeling. And this begins to flood the body with energy, prana, or life force. Manage that life force with love so that it's distributed everywhere, that it doesn't sort of rush in and build up in the head, for example. We distribute it throughout the body intelligently through movement. When ready, walk the feet a little closer towards each other and raise the other leg to the one you raised before. Bend and extend the leg in the air, turn out, turn in. Experiment with the standing leg foot if you want. Don't hold the breath. We're just basically moving in ways that are hopefully intuitive to us here and now, hopefully even enjoyable to us here and now. And when we're ready, sweep the foot forward. It might take 2 or 3 or 4 steps, or you might do it in one. And then breathing through the nose, the knee is behind the pelvis, the breath is deep, honest and expressive. If you want, climb up onto the leg. Focus on the stretch in the groin, as if you could just disappear into those sensations of richness. Raise the arms, stay focused on the groin. Feel the sensations of richness. Feel the sort of buzzing or the vibration or the temperature or the fizzing, whatever the sensations feel like. Feel, open to them. Keep the breath flowing, keep the tummy toned, roots of the neck soft. And coming forwards, Adho Mukha Svanasana, so stepping back. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. The next pose you can do on your forearm if it's difficult to keep going on the wrist, but we're going to bring the hand that's furthest away from me towards me so it comes into the midline of the two. You can be down on your forearm if you prefer. So this is the forearm version. Or turning towards me, one leg behind you, one leg in front, and raising up like that. As I say, you can do the same thing on your forearm. Breathing through your nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. If you wanted to, you could raise the top leg and see if you could reach for the foot. That's an option. And most people would think it was a bit of a silly option this time of day, but you, you might want to have a go. Okay, coming back and back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Calm if you like. See if you can be calm. Taking deep, relaxed breaths. Bring the other hand into the midline of the two hands and turn around to face the other direction. We'll call it direction 2. Again, you can have your leg behind you, which is probably the sensible option, or you might want to, well, I doubt it, but you might want to reach for your foot and raise that up. That's another option. Breathing, if you can, through the nose. Try to smile. Okay, back to Adho Mukha Svanasana with deep breaths, expressive and investigative. So back to the down face dog. So expressive and investigative. It's like super sensuality. You know, you get super sensual absorption. So you're really getting into the sensuality. It's like you awaken as this field. So supersensuality is awakening as this field of interconnections that we sometimes call the body, but the reality is it's body, mind, breath, universe. It's part of a field. So that's why it's powerful to experience. Come down to a regular kneeling position for which you might want to put a block between the heels and the buttocks. Rest your hands on your lap and breathe through your nose if you can. Take some deep breaths, expressive, deep and honest. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Observe your back. Make sure that there's love everywhere. Yeah. So it might sound like that's what a nice little sort of decorative to say there's love everywhere. That's nice. Decorate the class like that. Like decorating a Christmas tree with tinsel. But no, it's not decoration. It's a fundamental instruction for successful yoga practice. So what does it mean? Suffuse the body with love, here and now, or friendliness, or kindness. Essentially means awareness. Love and awareness are the same thing. Because love allows. It's not looking for what's right or wrong. It's just what's there. It wants to know. It's beyond right or wrong. It's just love. Okay, release your hands and stretch out your legs. Speaking of love, here comes Dandasana, which I love. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Coming to the inner front edge of the ischiotuberosities. And that's to say the sitting bones. Some yoga teachers call them the sits bones. That's up to them. Then bring the hands next to the hips and sit up tall and light and breath centered. So Dandasana is a beautiful investigation into lightness. It could be that you'll find you get more lightness sitting on a block. It's more than half of people practicing this pose will feel like, oh yeah, sitting on a block, now I get it. Because we must be able to get the lumbar lordosis, that is to say, the inward curve of the lower back. And if you're not sure if you have got a lightness or lift in the lower back, it probably means that you haven't, right? So sitting on a block should help. Then this station is ranging around. We call it ranging around. So you're moving left, you're moving right, you're moving forward, you're moving backwards to see if you can find little doorways that open for you to be able to lift through. So I've compared this to panels on an oak paneled wall in a detective film or TV show, where the detective is pressing on the panels to find the open door, the secret door. But in this case, there are limitless secret doors. So the panels are you moving around. Is there an opening here, one there, and then suddenly a door opens and you feel lightness, and then you look for another one. This is called ranging around. On top of ranging around, the feet can broaden, like they sort of spread like a gentle smile of Tara, the goddess Tara, or Bodhisattva Tara, or who's on the shrine here. Or a gentle smile of a Buddha. They're supposed to have a gentle smile, but not all artists quite manage to put one on. They're supposed to have. Great. Okay, that's great. Place your hands behind your derriere, which is French for ass, by the way, and bend your legs so that the feet come down to the floor. Lightly tone your tummy so it draws in and up, and then lift your bum up. Travel forwards and get ready to barrel the chest over so that the head is accompanied. That's how you look after your head. If it's intense and strong in your arms, I know, and yeah, you're loved. There are 4 points in contact with the floor. Range around and keep breathing. Barreling the chest means rolling it like a barrel in the direction of the head, and it keeps rolling. Right? That's how you look after your neck. Not by keeping your head half up, half down, which keeps the muscles tense, but by barreling the chest. Well done. Come down calmly, which I probably won't need to say twice. Cross your legs. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Breathe through your nose. Well done, everyone. Palms up. Deep breaths. Eyes soft, brain soft. So study is love. Love is study from a yoga point of view. Study is love. Love is study. And we're encouraged to study. Tapas swadhyayeshvara pranidhanani kriya yogaha, says Patanjali. And he says, this is what kriya yoga is. Tapas swadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani. Enthusiasm, like really, like I love yoga. You've already got that because you're, 7 a.m. and you're here. So then svadhyaya, sometimes it's described as study of yourself. Swa does mean oneself, but it's often textually meant as study of texts or teachings about who you really are. And it culminates in surrender to the Ishvara. So Ishvara means the best master. That means the part of your experience that's not caught up. That's the summary of that. The part of your experience that doesn't get caught up. How do you not get caught up? Keep moving, like let there be subtle movements. Subtle movements or flow. Good. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn towards the shrine side of the room, or turn towards me, or just turn. And empty of grasping. Doesn't mean that you won't have grasping in your body or nerves, in the body or nerves. It just means that when you feel grasping in the body or nerves, you recognize it as natural, normal, permissible, loved. But there's no compulsion to go with it, because it's not my grasping, it's just grasping. Inhale, lift, keep lifting and turning, and you're turning the other way. Taking deep breaths. Lightness, breath-centered, jaw soft. So look for lightness. Investigate lightness. Look for lightness. Investigate lightness. The jaw relaxed. Release, return to center, and take your legs apart. You can face this side of the room to a generous stride, probably sitting on a block, so that the corner of the block faces forwards directly and just appears in front of the pubis. Not everyone needs a block, but many people do. You can ascertain whether or not you need a block by sitting without a block after drawing the buttock flesh out and back, and seeing if you can sit up light. If you're not sure if you can or not, then you can't. So, because lightness, you can feel it. So a bit of ranging around. It's like Dandasana. You can help things out by just taking your hands cupped, placing them on the floor behind you, fingers facing back. Roll your shoulder blades down your back. Lightly tone your tummy. And breathe through your nose. Investigate lightness. So moving left, moving right. Just like we did in Dandasana, we were investigating lightness. So that was the ranging around stage. And then you can include the broadening of the feet stage, which is like the smile on Tara or Buddha, or if you've meditated and you've had that moment, after minutes and minutes of restlessness and agitation and boredom, you might then get to a moment where your mind finally comes together and there's a moment of bliss and there's a little smile comes across the mouth. So that's the kind of feeling we want to generate on the feet, like a Buddha smile. So if you sort of tense up to do it, that's not it. The bliss of the Buddha smile comes from the release of this permanent, this feeling, permanent sense of being somebody. That when that releases, is like, when you become nobody in a good way, nobody in particular. Lift and turn towards your right foot and have a good old look at your right toes. It may be the first time this morning that you've acknowledged them in your consciousness. So just having a look at your right toes. And because feet are the veritable house elves of the body, that is to say, they're rather down on themselves. They're used to being shoved into socks, shoved into shoes, shoved under footwells, not loved. They're like, oh, I just carry people around. No one notices me. So when you look at your foot, it doesn't realize that you're looking at it for a bit. And then slowly it starts to wake up like, oh, I noticed. And it feels a sense of release. And it begins to stretch out like it's just woken up for the first time. I noticed. Feet love being noticed because they so infrequently are, except to be criticized or, disguised with fancy footwear. Lift and turn. You've done what? I still love you. Keep your attention on the back foot, but bring your attention to the front foot as well. Which is like, what? Me too? And it begins to relax and open up and expand. Like some long begotten orphan in a Dickensian book who's finally recognized and noticed. Breathing through your nose. So just feel your foot, it takes a while for it to appreciate, it takes a while for it to know that the sun is shining on it, as it were. It's used to being in the dark, poor thing. But when it does realize, it's like, oh, hello. It's like the spring has come for the foot too. Now stay mindful and aware and in love with your feet. I love you both. And bring your fingertips to the floor in front of you. So you're still fully aware of all your toes. Or as I like to call them, the tootsies. Come forward a little bit if you want. Creeping towards the possible dawning of a barrage of dad jokes. So we're creeping forwards because it's, we're keeping this sense of love and light, to not try to be too cliched, but love and light. But it's very, very sensitive, isn't it, to stay true. How far forwards, it doesn't matter, it should be natural. It should be empty of grasping. Nobody achieves anything more inherently by just going further forward. So it doesn't achieve anything in and of itself. The achievement is the falling into the mother field. I'm not even going to explain that. The achievement in yoga is falling into the mother field. So it's Mothering Sunday on Sunday, and I looked it up. being that kind of person, what it means, what the origins of mother and son. And it originally meant several things, but mostly the mother church. You go back to the church where you were baptized or christened, and you know, see all your buddies back there at the mother church. But it also later became associated with the Mother Earth, the things that are given to us. So there's a sense of returning to the source. So this is a mother, it's a natural metaphor, because the source of all beings is the mother, is a mother, isn't it? Okay, coming up. Cool, calm, collected. With good luck and good fortune on your hands, you'll be able to bring your legs back together. Fingers crossed. And then hold your big toes when you're ready. Holding your big toes is a fascinating thing in yoga text, because it's through loads of tantric texts and hatha texts. The big toes are a bit of a thing in yogic texts. It's been speculated by some scholars that it may be that it forms some sort of energy loop. That's speculation, however. But anyway, big toes feature a lot. So holding your big toes is quite a normal thing to do in yoga. We do it quite a lot. But it's more than just something to hold. Experiment if you want. A little bit of a leg raise, maybe another. You might be better not on a block unless you know, because you've got further to fall if you're on a block. Or you might be better on lots more blocks to make it even more exciting if that's what floats your boat. It's all about the breath. So you might extend a bit and then, you know, the breath opens up. So there's so many options: legs together, legs apart, both legs straight, one leg bent, one leg straight, both legs bent, you know, oscillations. But it's not about the pose. Much as BKS Iyengar is someone I hold dearly in my heart. I even have a picture of him, a photograph of him, and various other heroes in my office. At the same time, his book, The Light on Yoga, was both a very good book and a very bad book for the yoga world, because there's pictures of him doing poses that look great. And then we naturally think, oh, that's yoga. The closer I can get to looking like BKS Iyengar in Light on Yoga, the better I'm doing at yoga. But it's not true at all. Because yoga is absorption, not poses. Okay, come down and cross your legs. If you can remember the way you crossed them earlier, cross them the opposite way, you would have crossed them your most natural cross. So cross them your least natural cross and draw your buttock face out and back several times. Hopefully you've got quite a big bum, because they're good for yoga. So if not, try and work on that. Gail's bakery is just around the corner, so you could work on a bigger bum. Although it's hard to target it to, you know, specific parts, isn't it, sadly? Anyway, the reason a big bum or a bigger bum is better for yoga is because you can use it to position your skeletal structure. So if you've got a little bum, you know, do what you can with your little bum. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, we're going to turn for the Parivrita. Parigraha means empty of grasping. It doesn't mean that our experience is empty of grasping, though, does it? Grasping is in every one of our nervous systems. We're educated to reach out. We're taught that we should aspire, reach out, attain. We should gain acquisitions. And these are acquisitions to augment our ego, which is an idea of ourselves. So that's there. So, but that's natural. If you read yoga texts, you see that that's natural. This I maker, the ahamkara, features in the list of evolutes that we find as descriptives of prakriti, or the mother field. One of the ways in which the mother field breaks down eventually into appearingly separate elements is this initial separation, the I maker. We can accompany that with the mine maker, the mamankara. Lift and turn, keep lifting and turning all the way around the other way. Soften your eyes, soften your jaw, soften the temples, breathe really deep. Let the buttocks relax. Deep, expressive, natural breaths. So reaching out is part of our nervous systems. Advertisement encourages it. Everything about society really encourages it. So the solution isn't to have a nervous system that's free of reaching out, but just simply not attached to it. I've compared it in the past to wild horses running. Keep thinking of metaphors that I should have included in the book. Anyway, that's not in the book, should be. Wild horses running. They're very, very beautiful if you're not tied to them when they're running, right? But if you saw a bunch, let's say 5 wild horses running, you saw them in the distance, out on some beautiful common land somewhere, and then you look down and you realize there was a rope tied around your ankle, and you followed the length of the rope and it was getting tighter. You saw the other end was tied to the horses, and then suddenly you're pulled through the brambles and whatever. Then that's not so good. The wild horses running is not beautiful. So the difference is being tied to them or not. They're beautiful when you're not. It's awful when you are. Return to center. Take a deep breath, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. Fold over a third of your mat if you're near the outer walls, which everyone is in here, the third nearest the outer wall. A third is more than a quarter. Just putting that out there. No, hang on. Yeah, that's right. Gosh, nearly argued with myself then. You might need a belt as well. Let's practice a bit of traditional Hatha yoga. Very rarely practiced, if ever. I'm sure it can't be never practiced, but I've certainly never encountered it in a yoga class before. But let's do it anyway. So you should be, you're facing the wrong way, aren't you, Brian? This doesn't matter, we love you. So draw the bottom push out and back. Now you can sit on a block for this. If you are sitting on a block, the same side that our leg we're going to bend back is pulled back, so that when you bend the leg back, there's space for your foot to come back. So if you're sitting on a block, make sure you pull the block back on that end first before pulling your leg back. Anyway, that's what we're going to do, whether we're on a block or not. We pull the leg back. The foot can come to the inner thigh of the opposite thigh, or the top of the inner thigh of its own thigh. And then I find some lifting and shifting is advantageous. So you've got your own way to do that, but you're incorporating the body. I think it's useful to spend time just releasing the inside of the knee, the popliteus muscle, little tiny muscle, and then take the belt or strap, unless you've got a wide range of motion in your hamstrings and it's easy to hold your foot without closing your spinal column. So if you fold over your navel to reach your foot, then you mustn't. You must use a belt, and which is most of us, I think, will be better off with a belt. Short legs, long arms, it means it's easier to hold the foot, but it's not the goal. The goal is open spine, right? This is not Janu Shirshasana, and this is Mahabandha and Mahamudra. So Mahamudra, meaning the great seal, is where we focus on the midline as we stretch the central channel without tensing anywhere up, especially the back knee. And we try to bring our attention into that central channel. So this mirrors the original meaning of Mahamudra that we find in the earlier texts in Buddhism, where you hold yourself in the Mahamudra, which is that sort of perfect center, the middle of it all, between all possible reactions. So that's in Hatha Yoga, that's done physically, physical center, that's the central channel. And then Mahabandha is squeezing the upper and lower kundalinis into the heart center. So that means feeling a little energetic nudge from the pelvic floor. This is barely a physical action, but there's going to be some physical sympathy, but it's just nudging, like imagining you're just keeping energy in the central channel, not letting it fall out, as it were, through the pelvic floor. So that's the first part of Mahabandha. The second part is chest up and chin down. So you're squeezing the lower kundalini up and the upper kundalini down. And this brings us into the middle of the middle point, which is the heart center. So it takes concentration, because most of us are very, very restless, and we're drawn to this and that and the other, gripping, grasping, grabbing. That makes us feel quite dizzy and spun out. So we have to correct that by bringing ourselves into the center. Coming out slow and easy. We'll do the same thing on the other side, so extending out your legs. If you're sitting on a block, don't forget that the side that we're going to pull back, the leg we're going to pull back, that side of the block is drawn back. The texts don't tell us we should do it on each leg. It's just, just feels right too, doesn't it? So bring the other leg back when you're ready, either to the top of its own thigh. You can support the knee with a block if you need to, particularly if you're on a block, or either the top of the opposite thigh or the top of its own thigh, and lifting and turning and softening. Don't hold the breath. So really we're arriving. And it's not easy to arrive somewhere if there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of expectations. But it's easy to arrive somewhere where there's no pressure, there's no expectations. So, let yourself expand. Let yourself be beautiful. I'm quoting Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Power of Love is the song. Again, you can use the belt if you wish, or probably should. Certainly should if by holding the foot you close the central channel. That's completely against the point. We must be open. That's why we're doing this. So Mahamudra, the great seal. Sealing yourself into the middle of all possible reactions, which is easy to do actually, because when you feel a tendency to pull towards a reaction, like liking something or disliking it, wanting something or not wanting it, being agitated or calm, these are all polarities, aren't they? So if you feel you're pulled towards a polarity, agitated, for example, notice its opposite, not agitated, calm. And then find the midpoint that's neither of those, the middle between them. Or wanting and not wanting. You're drawn towards not wanting. Remind yourself of wanting. Find the middle. Then we'll bring in the Mahabandha. Mahabandha is the pelvic floor nudge. It's great. It's just like a little, it's difficult to describe. But essentially, if you imagine there's energy in the central channel, and that it sort of, if it drops out, then our mind goes back into uncontrolled karmic reactiveness. Sorry, that's the best I could do. Uncontrolled karmic reactiveness, which is action and reaction in endless fields of action and reaction. It's prakriti. But we are isolating our consciousness from that reactiveness so that we can see consciousness, which is the part of our experience that's eternally pure, deathless, ageless, genderless, timeless, nameless, formless, historylessness. So nudging energy into the central channel, and then with the chin and chest, nudge it down to the heart. So up from the pelvic floor, down from the head. Okay, staying with that sense of center and bringing yourself up, hopefully nice and easy. Extend out your legs, open up your mat again. We'll complete the cycle with mahavedha, which is the third part that's taught in the Hatha text. One normally takes Siddhasana, usually this version of Siddhasana with one heel on top of the other, but it's not possible for everyone to do Siddhasana. So any pose that you can be comfortable in, and then you tap the pelvic floor. So you could do that with a block, like tapping the pelvic floor like that, leaning forwards a little bit, or straight on the floor, but you tap the pelvic floor with a clear intention. And the yoga texts tell us things like chintayet, like think about it, or smritayet, like recollect what you're doing. Tapping the pelvic floor, imagining bhavayet, that you're pushing energy up into the central channel. So this is the mahavedha. And you close your eyes to do it, and you just really try and feel like when you tap the pelvic floor, a little shot of energy goes up into the central channel. In Tibet, they call these beps. They do them much more dramatically. They jump up in the air high, cross their legs in the air and land like that. That's what Tibetans do. It's a bit dangerous. Sometimes they break their tailbones doing it. So we're not doing that. So try these little, our version of beps, the mahavedha. But it's all about your intention. There's nothing inherently happening if you just tap the pelvic floor, but intend the energy to go up. And this is the way we viscerally bring ourselves to a center point. Very, very powerful. We could do that for a while, but we're maybe a couple more and then settle in the central channel. That's the point. For the early texts before the Pradipika, all the Hatha Yoga texts tell us to do this practice. What matters is that afterwards you keep that energy in the central channel. So that's down to us. It's keeping the energy in the central channel. If you find it more comfortable for your back to now sit on a block if you weren't before, then go ahead. And if you want to make a more comfortable seat than the more utilitarian version of Siddhasana, then do that now, because we're going to do a little bit of Tsa Lung Trul Kur. And this is for the heart. So the Tsa Lung, Tsa means energy channels. You might know them as nadis. Lung is prana. It's these Tibetan words. And Trulkur means magical mandala. So it's a little cycle of practices you do. But we're only going to do the one for the heart. And what we do is we breathe, we rebreathe, and we rebreathe into the heart, like blowing up a balloon, like, and then we hold that energy in the heart. So there's no exhalation, it's just inhale, a bit more of the same inhale, maybe another part if you feel you've got space. So you're full and you feel that energy. And then you take the following action. So I'll just demonstrate the whole thing. And then you breathe out. Now I did 5 of these on each side. 5 of these. That might be too many. So you can reduce it to 3 and 3 if you want, because you've got to hold the breath for that whole length of time. And remember that the actions are massaging the heart center. So this is not a shoulder exercise. This is, can you see how I can use it to massage the heart center? So that's what you're doing, massaging the heart center. It's exactly the same premises. The other things bring yourself into the center. So let's do that when we're ready, which I think is now. So breathe and rebreathe. What the balloon, as it were. Let's say 3. Let's just do 3 to start with at least. Massage the heart with 3 of those. And then you breathe out at the end. So these are just ways of attracting you to the heart. Let's do it again. So breath, breath, breath. You can do 3 or 5 this time, up to you. Three just feels like the right number. So we do a third. In the middle, all is calm, even if there's a blizzard raging outside. The middle is like a log cabin in the middle of a blizzard. The lights, the candles are lit, the fire is on. It's warm. A golden light emits out of the windows. It's a beacon for anyone lost in the blizzard, but don't go out to the blizzard yourself to try and help anyone. Otherwise, you just become another person lost in the blizzard. As soon as you step out, you've lost the cabin. So going out means reaching out for a thought, an idea, the habit, the tendency. If we come into corpse pose around now, then there's a good chance I'll finish this class on time, would be a miracle in itself. So, if we lay ourselves down, the purpose of corpse pose is melting according to the texts. So laying yourself down, if you want blankets and stuff, then please feel free. The hands are best placed quite generously, actually, away from the yoga mat on the, what is this floor? Is it wood? This sort of faux wood. It's sort of a kind of wood, isn't it? Laminate, processed wood. Palms face up, shoulder blades are scooted under. Very important pose according to the text and according to one of the most important Hatha texts, the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra. Important because it was copied wholesale in part into the locus classicus of Hatha Yoga, the Hatha Pradipika. And what does it say about this pose? Well, let me say a couple of things first and then I'll quote from the text. Close your eyes. Make sure your arms are generously placed, that your shoulder blades are scooted under. The text tells us, find a place you can be on your own. You don't have to be anybody. And lay on your back with your limbs loose, as if you were dead. Allow your attention to release from the eyeballs through the optic nerve, through to the occipital lobe of the brain. And finally, let your attention rest in the back of the skull. Tension resting in the back of the skull. Just resting there. feel into your body from that center point, but staying in the center point as you move your toes and fingers, staying in the center point so movement comes from there. We don't leave that point, and stretching out, maybe move your ankles and wrists, stretch in ways that feel good and natural to you. When you feel ready, you can bend your legs and place the soles of the feet on the floor. Scoot the buttocks under, take a deep breath, let the back release completely into the breath. Then roll onto your side, facing away from this side of the room. Lay as comfortably as you can. Roll back again in your own time. And when you feel ready, coming to in a way that's unhurried, natural, easeful, you can bring yourself up nice and easy. And facing towards the shrine if you want, with your hands in a prayer position if you want. And if you agree with these following words, you can say, as I will Om, which means I agree with that. And then just contemplate it as you imagine the energy of your intention spreading out. Perhaps you can even imagine particular beings it might spread to as representations of all beings. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thanks, everyone. I finished on time. It's amazing. Thanks, Ruma. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Finished on time.